Let's see easypaste in action. Easypaste is a tool to sequentially paste segments from a text file into any program. So if you have to do an online presentation or you want to record an online tutorial or course where there is a lot of typing involved, you can do the typing beforehand and then split the texts into chunks that are just the right size to get a good flow during your presentation and paste those segments without actually having to retype anything. So let's see this. Let's assume I wanted to explain to you how my Shuffle Spotify playlist script works. So I would start with an empty Jupyter notebook. Then I would run easypaste and give it an input file demo.txt. We see that the global hotkey combination is Control-Shift-B. So whenever I hit those three keys, the next text segment gets pasted into the application that currently has the focus. So let's go over here, put the cursor here, I hit Shift Control B, and here we go. So what this script actually does, it takes a playlist called Party 2025 from my Spotify account, and it should shuffle all the tracks and create a new playlist with a different random order. So first we have to configure our connection to Spotify. We then fetch all my playlists and check if the one we want to copy and modify really exists. If so, we print playlist found. So let's execute this. Playlist Party 2025 was found. So now we take all the track IDs from this playlist and we shuffle them. Now we create a new playlist. And finally, we add the shuffled tracks to this new playlist. So as you saw in this window on the right side, which of course would not be shown to the audience, which would be on a different screen, you always saw the next segment before I pasted it. So you always get a preview, and you also see those notes in brackets, which are text segments that are only shown in this terminal, but not actually pasted when I hit Shift Control B. So for example, here, you can use it to remind you of things you shouldn't forget during your presentation. For example, don't forget to show the results in Spotify. So the result, of course, of this execution is that we had a playlist Party 2025. And now after we execute the script, we have another one, Party 2025 shuffled with a timestamp that contains the same songs, but in different random order. The input to this all is a text file that contains delimiters. Per default, it's 3 percentage signs. So whenever this delimiter is reached, everything on the same line after the delimiter is interpreted as an internal note, which is shown in brackets only in the shell, and then the next segment starts. So that's basically everything you have to do. You just take your code or your text, whatever, you add those delimiters at the right positions where it makes sense for your presentation. You add some notes if necessary, and that's about all. So let's see some options. It could be interesting. Let's go back to the project page. So for example, we can use a different delimiter if those 3 percentage signs have a meaning in your programming language or whatever. You probably want to use another delimiter, something that isn't part of the text you want to paste. If you just want to copy the segments to the clipboard, but not actually paste it, you can use the no paste option. So then whenever you hit Shift Control B, the next segment gets loaded into the clipboard, but then you have to manually paste it by hitting Control V on Windows or Command V on Mac. This makes sense if you're on a Mac and you don't want to give extra permissions to the command window, to the terminal window. So in order to be able to paste system-wide, the terminal window needs additional permissions. If we don't grant these permissions and we run the tool, hit Shift Control B, we get a warning. We see that terminal cannot paste. So now we can either go to this dialog and grant the permissions, or we could just run the tool with this option, no paste. If you grant the permissions, don't forget to revoke them again as soon as your presentation is over. So if you want different delimiters, if you always want to use the same name for the input text file, you can create the configuration file where you save your preferred settings, and you can run the tool with just one option where you give it this configuration file name. So you don't have to remember all those command line arguments. Yeah, so give it a try, check it out. I hope it's useful. Bye-bye.